Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name's Luke Payson, and I'm welcoming back to the show a guest who hasn't been on the show in several years. Put your hands together, I guess, over the video for the former 247 Fighting Championship amateur welterweight champion, Cody Reece. Cody Reece, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it. You're a great dude. You always kept in touch with me, so I really do appreciate you reaching out to me and putting me on the show again.
It's been good. It's my honor. I got to call your fight versus Chase Boyd all those years ago in 2019, and you got a really great title win over him. And then you kind of took a long time away from MMA. Of course, COVID probably had a factor in that. Then you had a fight back just a little bit ago. Looks like you're now fighting at 85 instead of 70, and you got a win. And now you're on to talk about the fact that you've got a big fight coming up, your second fight back from your break. So fill me in. What's been going on?
This fight's coming up. It's going to be a 170 title fight. So yeah, I'm actually going to be fighting at 155 here soon too. Yeah, I'm actually already on weight for 170. So
so you're already getting ready. So you'll fight November at 70, but you're going down. Is that primarily because of your height? You're not the biggest, tallest 170, but when you were fighting 170, you're very strong, that wrestling background.
Yeah, man. Honestly, speaking of that time being off, this will help understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So, with the pandemic happened and then I come back, I was in good shape after the pandemic trying to get on fights. And then next thing you know, how I tore my PCL and my meniscus, turn around, went down, depression, trying to figure out, family, because I have another little one, she's 2 now. So, with everything piling up at once, I couldn't get it together. So I got up to 250 pounds. Yeah. And you can go to my Instagram, you can look at it. 250 pounds in December. So, at my age, I'm still young in the game and I have enough experience. It wasn't that I wasn't training, like I just wasn't training with Team Rock. I was trying to find myself. So I just got fed up with it, man. I just got fed up with the daily life of working a 9 to 5. I enjoy it, and I buckled down. I got a nutritionist. I got back with my old gym. I got to the grind. It started with a kickboxing match, fell back in love with it. Then I was like, I don't want to fight at 230. I did a kickboxing match, didn't like that. So just kept on gradually, going down and working hard and staying on a path. But now I've gotten where I figured out my body a lot more than I did being younger. Plus, I'm more mature at the age I'm at now. So I don't go out here and eat, cheesecake. Now, do I do a little cheesecake, but I don't eat it. I've learned I can, take that gradual steps down. So, with making a decision on going to 185, just slowly going down to 170. Now my nutritionist has got me where I feel good just walking out 170. I mean, I just weighed the other day 175. So I want to make my pro debut at 155. 170, man, it's not that I can't handle it, because I can with the wrestling background, just like I did 185. But it'd be nice being the bigger guy, for once. So that's why, I'm getting down and going down gradually. It's just taking a little time, so that's the idea of what I'm trying to get to is the 155. My next fight be my pro debut.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing. Obviously, the emotional journey affected your physical health with the depression, putting on a lot of weight. It's always healthiest, like you mentioned the word 3 times, maybe more, gradual. Like you make changes, but it's not healthy to go from a big weight to some crazy starvation diet, and then it throws off your hormones, makes everything worse. So I'm glad you were doing it the right way with a nutritionist and gradually going down. Really big news. I thought you were on to talk about your November fight. Obviously, that's a big deal. Taking on a tough guy at pretty good experience level for amateur at 170. But to already have it in your mind that you're making your debut after that in the future at 55, I think that makes a lot of sense. For people that may not know, you're undefeated. You were on a kind of a huge roll prior to everything, that happened in your life. And that's a big deal. You're highly rated, I'm sure, highly ranked. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are excited, including yourself, about you going pro. That's something that I kind of thought might have happened after your Cody Reece fight. I'm sorry, you're Cody Reece after you fought Chase Boyd, because he was a top ranked guy and he's doing pretty well. He's gotten a couple wins after he fought you, and I get to see him because he's in Pittsburgh. But really great stuff. For you, what do you want to see out of yourself in this upcoming fight at 170? Is there a feeling you're looking for, a quickness, like an endurance level? Is there something you're kind of looking to experience to make sure that, yep, I'm ready to go pro? Like, is you kind of have one more thing to do before you go pro?
Honestly, man, this is up to my coach.
Sure.
He wanted me to get back to my normal weight and my weight class that I was at, see how I felt.
Sure.
So I do what he tells me to do. So that being said, only thing I'm trying to feel is, the excitement, of course, competing at my natural weight again, going for a third title, I'm trying to own the whole East Coast,
Yeah.
basically in my mind. But honestly, it's the challenge that I get to face in this next fight, where I've trained with this guy before, so it makes it even more interesting because we've trained before against each other, so we know each other's weaknesses. Not only that, he's a striker. I'm a wrestling based guy. The height difference is different. So just getting that feel of those long rounds, because it is a 5-round fight, 4 minutes. So I'm getting that experience in there already. So when I go pro, I get that, at least I get that feeling of a 15-minute fight. So, looking at those outcomes, I are looking at what's going to get me ready for the next fight for pro. But am I throwing it past him? No. He's still something I'm definitely going to take serious, and then stay on track. But it's really, that's what I'm really looking for, is what's going to help me, pursue my professional career after this. So that's what I'm kind of looking at too.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's your fight on Tapology. I'm checking here. It's listed as 3-3s. You may want to check.
Yeah. I looked at it and I talked to Marcelo. That's what they have a mix up, but they're gonna fix it all. But yeah, because that's the same thing. Because I've been training for 4 rounds of 5s. But yeah, it's 4 5s. So definitely, I've already talked to Marcelo, and we'll go from
Oh yeah,
there.
no, it makes sense. How do they deal, Cody? How are they going to deal with if it's 4 5s? How are they going to deal with a potential 2-2 tie?
It's 4 minutes. Oh, it's 5 4s. It's 5 rounds for 4
I had that
minutes.
backwards. My bad. I thought you were saying 4 rounds of 5 minutes, and I was like, well, what happens? Okay, so 5 rounds of 4 minutes. Gotcha. Very cool. I mean, 20 minutes, that's a ton, particularly at the amateur level. A lot of times I've seen amateurs kind of top out at 3-3s, but what a great opportunity for you. Obviously, you've got an opponent with pretty much the same number of fights you have, which is great. That's a lot of experience at the amateur level. You got a bunch. I think you're going into your 8th fight, and he's going into his 8th fight. So it's pretty fantastic. Makes sense all the way around. Thanks for answering the question about what you're looking to feel. Obviously, your coach back with your main coaching team. That makes a big difference. Being willing to trust the game plan. I'm super excited for you. I know that it's a bright future for you. You mentioned your age. You're only 26 to go pro around 26, 27. I think in many ways is perfect. We kind of see now with the UFC doing Dana White Contender Series in the summer, we could see how, like, right around 6-1, 5-0, 7-2, 7-0, kind of right around that one as pro level is where people get kind of called to a Dana White Contender Series. So potentially you go pro, maybe a year or two, you're 4 or 5 fights a year, and you're potentially knocking on the door of the next level. Of course, there's a lot of steps in between there, but it's kind of cool. In the last 4 or 5 years, ever since they started Dana White Contender Series, I think it's been a little bit more clear for people, that are going pro, kind of how to build that up potentially. So really exciting stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's what my coach talked about as well. Is that's a perfect age to go pro. With
Yep.
him, a lot of guys want to rush it. As an amateur, those are practice fights. You look at it, win or lose, it doesn't matter. You're getting that experience. So when you go pro, that's when it really matters. So that's one of the biggest things my coach talked about was the age. He said, it doesn't matter what age, but by 26, 27, you're getting your before your prime, getting up to your prime. He said, you don't understand how much can happen in just a year. So I've trained with some guys in Houston that's only been a pro for a year, but had a ton of amateur fights that have more experience than pro fighters. And he won 5 fights. Zach Reese, I've trained with that dude down in
All right.
Houston. I mean, look at him. Boom. He won a Contender Series.
Yep.
Now he's off pro. AJ Fletcher, trained with him. Same thing, So usually it's some amateur fights is really the biggest fights of your life because that's what's going to give you that experience. And a lot of people don't, they want to make that money real quick. And it's really not, it's all about that experience first.
It really is. I've seen some overly excitable amateurs. Obviously, if they win 1, maybe 2 fights and go pro, and everybody is going to make their own decisions in life. I think there's a name at 135, Hunter Starner. He's a former champ for 247. I think he was 7-0 as an amateur before he went pro, and probably right around 3-0, 4-0 as an amateur. You or he could have gone pro, but really allowing yourself to develop, I think that can make a difference. Are there some guys that take 1 or 2 amateur fights, go on to pro? Sure. But to your point, getting up. I just had a pro on a featherweight, flyweight. I keep saying featherweight. Flyweight starts with an F. Flyweight 125er who's now 3-0, all stoppages as a pro, 7-1 as an amateur. That's the type of guy. A couple more wins, he's looking at a Dana White Contender Series, right?
Oh yeah.
So that path is now out there, and you're absolutely right. Pros do look at the amateur level. You've really laid out a great game plan. I'm glad you're got kind of things a little bit more figured out in your life. Congratulations. I think when we last talked, you had a new baby back then, so now you're up to 2. So congratulations on all of that. Hopefully it won't be 3 years or 4 years. Wow, it's been 4 years. Hopefully it won't be 4 years since the next time you're on the show. I'd love to have you on after this fight to talk about you winning the title. Then we'll go from there. Really appreciate you coming on. For those of you watching that are big Cody Reece fans, please subscribe to MMA Fancast. I hope to have him on many times in the future. Thanks so much.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And it's an honor to be with on the show.
It's my honor as well. Thanks so much for coming on. You've been listening to Luke Basin for MMA Fancast with Cody Reece, going for a title fight in November. Can't wait to see how you do. Thanks again.
Thank you.
You got it. All right. Bye-bye.